So the fun continues. I'm glad that we're back from lunch. I hope you enjoyed your lunch and you're energized and now you're able to pay even more attention. Research is so brutal. Sometimes it gets so crazy that you end up leaving your earring in the bathroom. Research can be so brutal. Someone left their beautiful gold earring in the bathroom. So if you're missing if you're missing something, please come and fetch your earring. But thank you so much for staying until now. We really appreciate it. So the next 4 presenters have a bigger audience because the oral presentation is done, and everyone who was doing oral presentation should be coming back to join this segment. So we are down to the last 4, and then we are getting to the exciting part of prize giving. I don't want to waste time. I want to go straight to the next presenter. This is Noah S., Master of Management Sciences in Organizational Leadership. And the slides are already here. Noah, if we can just appreciate our first speaker after lunch.
I'm a bit nervous now that we have more people, but I'll try to be quick. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Sinovuyo Noah from the Department of Management and Entrepreneurship. Today I'll be presenting my paper titled The Barriers to Women Leadership Progression Within the Retail Sector in Gauteng, South Africa, a systematic review. This presentation is part of my work towards my master's degree in organizational leadership. Oh, it looks like it's not working. Excuse me, I'm a bit nervous. The retail sector is the second largest employer in South Africa, and Gauteng, as the country's economic hub, is home to major retail companies such as Shoprite, Pick n Pay, and Woolworths. Although women make up the majority of employees in this sector, fewer than 25% hold senior leadership positions. South Africa has progressive gender equity legislation, such as the Employment Equity Act, but the implementation of these policies has often been ineffective in practice. This highlights a policy gap and a research gap, because while there has been a lot of work done internationally on barriers to women leadership, there is relatively little research focusing specifically on the South African retail context. The study was guided by 4 key objectives. First, to investigate the barriers hindering women's leadership progression in Gauteng's retail sector. Second, to categorize and analyze these barriers at a personal, organizational, and societal level. Third, to examine the role of cultural expectations, workplace practices, and policy implementation in shaping women's advancement. And finally, to provide practical recommendations that can support gender equity and inclusive leadership in South Africa's retail industry. To interpret these barriers, we drew on 2 main theories. The glass ceiling theory, introduced by Marilyn Loden in 1978, describes that invisible institutional barriers prevent women from advancing to top leadership positions, even when they are equally qualified as men. These barriers are embedded in promotion practices, workplace culture, and leadership norms. The social role theory, developed by Eagle in 1987, explains how cultural and social expectations about gender roles influence perceptions of leaders. Leadership is often associated with masculine traits such as assertiveness and control, while women are expected to be nurturing and communal. This mismatch creates bias against women leaders. To build on these theories, we also adapted a conceptual framework from Sharma and Kerr. That would be it, which categorizes barriers into personal, organizational, and societal factors. From this framework, 4 propositions were developed. There we go, sorry. Linking work-life balance, discrimination, mentorship, and gender stereotypes to women's limited progression in leadership roles. This research followed a systematic review methodology, which means we did not collect primary data, but instead reviewed and synthesized existing academic and policy literature. The review was conducted using the PRISMA framework, which provides a structured and transparent approach to systematic reviews. The process began with a comprehensive search across multiple databases, including Google Scholar, EBSCOhost, and JOSTA, as well as South African university repositories and policy reports from organizations such as the Commission of Gender Equality, and the the WRCTA. In total, 148 records were identified and screened. Of these, 70 studies met the inclusion criteria and were included in the final synthesis. These studies spanned from 2010 to 2024 and included journal articles, doctoral theses, government reports, and policy briefs. The inclusion criteria required that studies focus specifically on barriers to women's leadership, with a particular emphasis on the retail sector, or with close parallels such as FMCG and hospitality. Data from these studies was extracted into a standardized matrix that captured key details such as the methodology, theoretical frameworks, barriers identified, and relevance to South African retail. The analysis followed a thematic synthesis approach, where findings from different studies were coded and grouped into themes. These themes aligned with the conceptual frameworks, personal barriers, organizational barriers, and societal barriers. By using the systematic approach, the review was able to bring together fragmented evidence and provide a comprehensive picture of the challenges women face in advancing to leadership within the Gauteng retail sector. So we're going into the findings now. And at a personal level, women face 3 main barriers, which is work-life balance, burnout and emotional fatigue, and imposter syndrome. At the first, which is work-life balance, retail work often involves long and irregular hours, which clash with caregiving responsibilities that still fall disproportionately on women. Second, burnout and emotional fatigue, driven by the demands of retail work combined with family responsibilities. And third, imposter syndrome, where women doubt their competence and hold back from seeking promotions despite having the qualifications and ability. Under the organizational barriers, they were the most visible and systemic. Many women lack access to mentorship and sponsorship networks, which is crucial for visibility and career progression. Promotion and evaluation practices remain biased, often rewarding traditionally masculine leadership traits while undervaluing collaborative or empathetic leadership styles. Pay inequity persists, with women earning less than men in similar roles. And lastly, tokenism, which is common, where women are given leadership titles but excluded from meaningful decision-making. The findings under the societal and cultural barriers, women face the weight of cultural and gender expectations. Leadership is still strongly associated with masculine traits, creating a double bind for women. If they're collaborative, they're seen as weak, and if they're assertive, they're seen as unfeminine. Cultural expectations continue to position women primarily as caregivers, creating conflict with leadership roles. And finally, intersectionality means that Black South African women face multiple overlapping forms of discrimination based not only on gender, but also on race, class, and language. Okay. The literature also highlights some important trends. Intersectionality is becoming more prominent in analyzing barriers. Diversity policies are often seen as symbolic or window dressing, failing to bring meaningful change. Younger generations, especially millennials and Gen Z, value authenticity, flexibility, psychological safety in leadership, challenging traditional norms. And finally, digital transformation offers new opportunities for flexibility, but risks leaving frontline retail workers, many of whom are women, behind. Okay, so based on these findings, we recommend several actions. Okay, we recommend several actions. First, the development of mentorship and sponsorship pipelines that actively identify and support women into leadership roles. Second, gender-sensitive leadership development programs that redefine leadership away from strictly masculine norms. Third, the implementation of cultural audits and accountability structures so that diversity and inclusion progress can be measured. Fourth, ensuring structured flexibility in work arrangements, particularly in frontline roles where women are most affected. And finally, embedding intersectional approaches that recognize the different realities faced by women of different races, classes, and ages. In conclusion, the underrepresentation of women within the retail sector is not the result of individual shortcomings, but of a systemic organizational and systematic organizational and cultural barriers that work together to hold women back. Policies alone will not fix this problem. What is required is a shift in organizational cultures, structural reform, and accountability. Ultimately, achieving equity in leadership is not only about representation, it is about creating a space where women can lead authentically, safely, and with legitimacy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sinovuyo Noah, for that presentation. I think I was also having some imposter syndrome standing here, as a woman and being asked to become, the program director for today. But thank you so much for that very important topic on women leadership. I will now leave it to the distinguished panel members for questions and comments, and of course the audience. Left, right. Wow. Any questions? Comments?
Yes, it's just a great study, really, which is, I think, is understudied. We need more, particularly in the South African context, specifically the retail, where we see, like you said, a lot of women. The study is well written, theories are there, everything, methodology. That's what I can say. Well done. It's a very good study.
Thank you. Any other comments, question? Yes, Dr. Larson.
Not so much a question, but once again, thank you very much. I think as you left your seat, you said, I'm nervous. No, you were not. You did exceptionally well, and I think a very, very, very relevant and a conversation that most probably some of us are afraid to have. A difficult conversation, but a really relevant one. So what caught my attention was, I think it was your second last slide about cultural change and cultural reform. And these are usually discussed in corridors and casual conversations, but I'm glad that you are taking it forward through a scientific approach and to provide some empirical evidence of how that can happen. So it's not a question, and I'm interested to see the way forward, how you've done it. So how would we bring about that cultural reform? Is it through policies and laws and acts, which might create some resistance? Because it's a very sensitive issue. So, and I know that sitting here, we have a culture. We are in business here, so we share a common culture. But when we speak about other viewpoints and perspectives of culture, it can become a very interesting subject, and I'm really interested. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
There's a question. Dr. Faku, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Social Gube campus and the Department of Public Management. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Maisha. Thank you, Tusno Vuyo. I've got a question and a comment. Number one, did you also look at the Queen Bee syndrome?
Not for this article specifically, but in my main study, it's sort of part of the.
Okay, let me leave it there. You know, the issue of women in leadership, I even saw the way you are addressing it. There's a study which was commissioned by UIF, the Commission of Unemployment and Insurance Fund, I think it was last year, and you find that in the main, in leadership, South Africa generally, in leadership, 62% it's white people, and out of 62%, 73% is male. And then when you come to black people, it's only 17% in leadership. And more than often, you find that you guys, women, when you conduct the studies, you want to topple the black people who are in leadership who are male. You don't necessarily go to where transformation is lacking. You see, apart from the policies of transformation still, but even ourselves, I mean, we're at 17%, we're also trying to go to those positions. But if you read your studies, you find that in the main, women, black women, they want black males who are 17% to come back or to come down so they can ascend, but without necessarily addressing the issue. Like when you speak of the culture, I was going to be interested to see how far you go in the issue of the culture in that space as well. So just a comment, that one. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay, you're getting comments. I'm actually looking for a question. We need to put this to the test. Okay, if there are no questions,
When they compete, it's competition. But when we compete, we are queen bees. So it's exactly the same. So we're not allowed to be aggressive. We're not allowed to be ambitious. Then we get a new term. So it's always you are too strong, too weak. So the queen bee syndrome has been researched. It is a few females, but naturally we are more collective. So that is also, and that's just to me a proof how it doesn't matter where you are, it's always a new term that, and it's very interesting. Marie is from retail, which you know quite well. So obviously we are jealous that you developed so well out of our, but we also work in retail, and exactly what you are saying is in retail, because we think we have a problem in education, but in retail, this is a real problem. Far worse than in education. So thank you for doing empowering work and very interesting work, and you presented wonderfully.
Thank you.
I just...
Sorry?
Okay, please.
Now,
please
I
go
would
ahead.
just like to say that I'm very proud.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question because you're only getting comments, and I don't want to burst your bubble. It's to say that you mentioned that this is part of a literature review article that you've done, right? But it's also part of your master's study. How far are you in your master's? And do you want to share insights in terms of what have you found so far, other than the literature study that you've done? They said I can ask as an MC. They gave me permission. So that's my question.
So currently, I'm in the data analysis stage. Maritak, you're putting me on the spot. What I've found so far, a lot of women, yes, the Queen Bee syndrome did come up a lot on the field where women felt they were being deposed by other women. There was also, oh my goodness, I forgot most of the stuff, but there was a lot of people who had ladies, sorry, who had spoken about the policies also being part of the problem, because you find that the policies, especially with the Employment Equity Act, they will say they want specifically a male in a specific position, and they will not want that position is basically for males only. In most cases, a black male, and you will find that there's a lot of qualified women who actually can have the qualifications for those positions, but they are not allowed to take them because of the current Employment Equity Act, where it specifically wants, for example, as I said, male people. And yes, it was mainly the Queen Bee syndrome, and most policies were also an issue. But yeah, right now I will come back and share with you everything because I am still at the beginning of data analysis and I'm still going through all the interviews that I've collected in the meantime. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. We can appreciate Noah for the presentation. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are down to the last three. And the next presenter is a Master of Management Sciences and Administrative Information Management student, and this is L.S. Molobela. Can we please appreciate L.S. Molobela? As she comes forward.
The stage is very hot since the comments will be. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Limpo Sharon. Oh, afternoon, everyone. My name is Limpo Sharon Molobela, and just a second. I'm a registered student in the Masters of Management Sciences, as they stated. My supervisor is CPJ Harams, and the topic in question is perceived emotional intelligence, work-life balance, and job satisfaction among administrative employees at the public hospital in the city of Tshwane. Background and motivation of the study. Employee satisfaction is vital in high-demand healthcare settings. Administrative employees at Steve Biko faced stress and limited support, making it important to study how emotional intelligence and work-life balance influence their well-being and job satisfaction. The key words in this presented slide is employee satisfaction, which now encompasses the foundation of productivity and resilience. Also, public hospitals, which then it's the place where there's high stress, limited resources, heavy workloads, and our administrative employees who play a pivotal, underexplored role. The gap, it's stated as the limited focus on non-clinical staff in South African healthcare settings. The contextualization of the study, field area definition is the study falls within workplace psychology and HR management, focusing on administrative employees at Steve Biko Academic Hospital in South Africa. Problem statement. There is a limited research on how emotional intelligence and work-life balance impact job satisfaction in hospital settings. With the need of evidence for HR strategies to improve well-being and retention strategies. Therefore, The proposed study intends to contribute to the body of knowledge by investigating the perceived relationship between emotional intelligence, work-life balance, and job satisfaction at Steve Biko Academic Hospital. To achieve this, the following questions were formulated. The first question is there a significant relationship between emotional intelligence and job satisfaction, as well as is there a significant relationship between work-life balance and job satisfaction among administrative employees at the research hospital? Secondly, how does emotional intelligence and work-life balance influence job satisfaction? Further, does demographics such as gender affect job satisfaction? The objectives of the study is to analyze the relationship between emotional intelligence and job satisfaction, to investigate the influence of work-life balance and job satisfaction, to examine role of demographic characteristics in job satisfaction differences. The goal of the study is to contribute to the body of knowledge with regards to workplace psychology within healthcare administration, to further improve practical insight for hospital management seeking to enhance employee well-being, retention, and organizational performance. The limitation of the study. The study is limited to administrative employees at Steve Biko Academic Hospital, restricting generalizability to other institutions. The use of self-reported questionnaire may also introduce unconscious bias response, which was then adopted to suit the variables that were studied among in the hospital. The research adopts a quantitative and correlational design which identifies association but does not establish causality. The literature review that which was visited was with regards to the variables, and with regards to our first variable, which is emotional intelligence, it was found that there's an ability to recognize, regulate, and apply emotions effectively in healthcare administration. It reduces emotional intelligence if measured well. It has the ability to reduce and improve teamwork and enhance job satisfaction. In hospitals, emotional intelligence guides administrative employees to cope with stress and interpersonal challenges. Literature which was visited with regards to work-life balance, it encompasses the capacity of management, personnel, and work demands. For hospital administration, when there is a good work-life balance, there will be a reduced burnout and increased morale, retention, and productivity. With regards to job satisfaction, the literature that was visited reflected that employees' feelings and evaluation of their work, when there is a higher job satisfaction, there will be improved morale, commitment, and organizational performance in the demanding hospital setting. With this regards, we then come to a theoretical framework. Although there were a lot of frameworks that could have been part and parcel of the study, such as Herzberg, two-factor theorem, the researcher saw it fit that the job demand resource model explains how resources buffer the effect of high demands. This model was then combined with the ability emotions motivation model, which then shows how emotional intelligence and work-life balance drive job satisfaction. On the right-hand side, it's the combined model, and I took it upon. The figure was then named Integrated Theoretical Framework, linking perceived emotional intelligence, work-life balance, and job satisfaction. Research methodology. The study adopted a quantitative research approach with a descriptive and correlational design. This method was suitable for measuring the strength and direction of relationship among emotional intelligence, work-life balance, and job satisfaction. The target population was 294 administrative employees employed by the Steve Biko Academic Hospital. The theoretical underpinning, the research was grounded in the job demand resource and ability emotion motivation, which captured both organizational and personal factors enforcing job satisfaction. These theories explain how personal resources like emotional intelligence and contextualized factors such as work-life balance influence employee satisfaction and their well-being. Description of the methodology. A census sampling was then was the strategy. The census sampling was adopted, targeting the 294 administrative employees at the research hospital. A close-ended structured questionnaire was used to capture perception of emotional intelligence, work-life balance, and job satisfaction. As a result, 264 valid responses where there was a return of response rate of 89.8% response rate. System of data collection and analysis. The data were collected through validated scale, ensuring reliability and content validity. Analysis was performed using structural equation modeling, which stated direct and indirect relationship between the variables in the study. The process and procedure. The research process included a questionnaire distribution, data cleaning, and statistical testing. The data, after collection, the data was then given to our statistician here at Tshwane University of Technology, and in that regard, SEM was applied to assess model fit, correlation, and regression path, with demographics variables included as controls. The findings of the study. The study found that there is a significant positive relationship between emotional intelligence, work-life balance, and job satisfaction. Employees with high emotional intelligence were better able to manage their stress, communicate effectively, and maintain personal well-being, which enhanced their job satisfaction. However, work-life balance as well also had a positive influence to job satisfaction, as employees who are better at balancing work and personal life reported higher morale and engagement. The demographics factors such as age showed some variation, but gender differences were not statistically significant in the study. The significance of the study with regards to contribution to knowledge. This study contributed to workplace psychology literature by highlighting how emotional intelligence and work-life balance interact to influence job satisfaction in public health care administration. It provides evidence-based insight for hospital management to improve employee well-being, productivity, and retention. With regards to practices, the findings inform HR policies, practical strategies to support administrative employees under high pressure conditions. With regards to society, socially, the study underscored the importance of creating emotional intelligence and balanced work environments to sustain a resilient healthcare workforce. The recommendations were for practitioners to implement emotional intelligence training programs, mentorship, flexible working arrangement, wellness initiative, performance recognition, and career development opportunities, which then this will encourage constructive feedback and policy promoting work-life integration to enhance job satisfaction and reduce burnout. For further researchers could explore longitudinal effects of emotional intelligence and work-life balance on job satisfaction. Also, to include other hospital categories or compare public hospital and private healthcare setting to generalize the findings. With this research, this is how we take TT from good to great. Thank you.
great. We are taking TUT from good to great with that beautiful presentation. Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm just going to leave it to our panel for questions and comments and to the audience. If you've been to Steve Biko Hospital, you have to ask a question or make a comment. We have a question here, comment here, noted number 2. Please use that mic, please.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I have a question which is perhaps in 2 parts. Especially you speak about emotional intelligence and job satisfaction, and if I remember clearly, there was one of your objectives that spoke about you trying to evaluate how the one affects the other. I'm curious, how did you measure, if you did, emotional intelligence and job security?
And job satisfaction.
Yes. Not emotional intelligence, there was job security, then there was your job satisfaction, I think was the other one. And work-life balance, yes, that's the one I was trying to remember. Because work-life balance, for example, means different things for different people. Right, and for us to be able to understand, the implications of your study as well for us in our own maybe different fields, it'll be useful to perhaps explain that. Thank you.
So the question is, how did we measure the emotional intelligence, work-life balance, and job satisfaction, right? In this regards, the instrument was adopted from, the first part was about Spectre. I just forgot the reference for the second and the third. But there was emotional intelligence questionnaire that which triggered myself to be more curious to study it. And then I had also a questionnaire that had questions, and it was about a study abroad, which was focusing more on nurses and doctors in that in non-clinical. So because I was in this regard faced in a spectrum where the research is limited, I had to adapt and adjust different instruments in order to have one questionnaire that will effectively measure. And with that regards, we first had 10 what we call pilot studying, now the word has run, pilot studying, in order to measure how do people in the health sector behave rather differently from in a normal setting. In the health sector, there's a lot of things that happen, and in most cases as support staff, we are not trained on how to encompass and comprehend that. So before I started collecting the data and before I concluded to come about the research place, I went to Steve Biko as a patient and then to see what is being encompassed, what do the support staff go through. So that's why I realized that if I were to look at the variable emotional intelligence, the variable work-life balance, and the variable job satisfaction will then suffice to answer the question on how to answer that. And then the questions were formulated on how to. Am I answering you?
You are, and you're speaking around it, but I think, and this is for all of us to be able to understand. So for example, if you're speaking of work-life balance, did you ask any specific questions, say, how many hours do you spend in office? How many,
yes.
so what kinds of questions made up
the kind of
the
question that
questionnaires?
I
Yes.
wish I had-
Examples, maybe 1 or 2.
The kind of question that made this up as with regards to the job satisfaction were questions that had surfaces the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And with regards to emotions, it's how they cope in a work environment with a lot of workload, being understaffed. That's the context on why I was focusing on the emotional intelligence. What are their emotions with regards to the setting that they are under, the setting of being having less resources and being understaffed, as well as to also cope with the working hours, because they get there around 7:30, they have to be at work already. And right about 4:00 when they're supposed to knock off, most of them don't knock off at that time. They will still be there doing fill-ups because of, we can't control how when patients come in through. They have to take an accountability for that. So, okay.
Just want to note hands. I saw another one this side.
Okay, keep them coming.
We're not doing well. Dr. Makaleni, we're not doing well. We don't just
Thank you very much, Ms. Molobela. I don't know, I'm still asking,
Yes, you
Chair.
can.
I think at the beginning you mentioned that your study borders into psychology a bit. I think you did say there are some constructs of psychology which are being covered, and emotional intelligence, I think it's one of them. And at the end of your presentation, you also speak of intervention programs that, of course, can be, tailor-made for administrators. Have you thought of maybe including a psychologist in your study? Because I'm thinking that they will be, of course, better positioned, to develop programs that can respond to the challenges that those administrators are facing.
Well, I have thought of that, and that is one of the things that it's in my packing folder for my PhD, to when it comes to the longitudinal study that I would have to, because the study had a limited short period, so I couldn't, and in most cases, some of the administrative employees were excluded because of, we wanted to test them at a certain point in time and not to introduce some certain of unbiasedness. So those that were on leave, maternity leave, study leave were excluded. But rather, if I were to do a longitudinal research, I think I would look at into the psychological spectrums.
We have another question. Yes, I so see. Are we fine this side? Okay, this will be the last. I want to fight with Dr. Makaleli, our timekeeper.
All right. Afternoon. Very interesting study. I noticed that in your literature, you focused more on providing definitions, and now left wondering as to what exactly you uncovered when conducting your literature review, and also what gaps in literature did you identify that then informed the rest of your study?
What I
Thank you.
uncovered in my literature review, I discovered that emotional intelligence and work-life balance and job satisfaction, they are overly studied. And in most cases, they are studied in support staff, Department of Education, in the health setting, education setting. But when it came to the health setting spectrum, there is a gap. I, for myself, I struggle to get relevant literature that which I could say this is fit, and it also guides me into having a certain direction in my study. So that's why I was like, in answering my research question, I want to be one of the first that closes the gap, having to have literature that focuses on the non-clerical employees in the hospital and healthcare setting.
Are we comfortable, panel? Are we good? Okay. Can we please appreciate her once more for that very important study? Thank you so much, ma'am, for that. And we apologize for the commotion here because we have the next presenter presenting online. So technology is here to help for those students that were not able to be here physically. And the next presenter will be presenting online. My two technical team, are we good? We just need to can hear, okay. So I'm just gonna kindly ask if we can just give the two technical team here an opportunity to connect to the next presenter.
All right, should I go ahead?
Let me just quickly introduce, you know, in every family there's always that one child. So this is that one child in the family of your child. It's just that one child who'll just be unique. You're the only person presenting, but thank you so much that you could take the time and join us online. And I'm really excited about this one here because we are getting to the doctors, right? So this is the first doctor of Management Sciences and Organizational Leadership presenter. So the last two are actually our doctoral candidate. Am I correct? No, you're
Yeah, but
not.
it's in
You're
marketing.
not. You're not wrong, Pumi. So it is. So the next presenter, ladies and gentlemen, is F. Makuta. If we can just appreciate him as he starts.
And thank you for the opportunity to present. Allow me to start by writing on the already observed protocol in the interest of time and to dive straight into my presentation. Greetings to you all from Zimbabwe. My name is Forbes Makuza, and as you can see, I am not so far away from you guys. I'm really close. Yeah, from the teapot-shaped country, Zimbabwe, just a stone throw away from you. And I'm so glad to be presenting. And I'm sure that the majority of you have had an interaction, so by now you now know each other. Allow me to just introduce myself briefly. So I'm an academic based at the University of Zimbabwe. And the University of Zimbabwe is the epitome of higher and tertiary education here in Zimbabwe. And I'm glad to be associated with that brand. I'm a family man, and let me introduce you to my beautiful family. So that's my wife, Taribo, and my son, Rukuzo, and our little baby, Lorenzo. And as you can see in the background there is plenty of water. Yeah, it's for a reason, because I love swimming, guys. And usually when I go out swimming, I take along my baby. So until recently, I do not have any medal in swimming. I hope this one will bring some medals home. Yeah, in terms of research, I'm really passionate about research, and thanks to ResearchGate. This morning it reminded me about how far I've gone. So as I was checking my profile on ResearchGate, it indicated that I now have 46 publications, 41 of which being journal articles, 3 being book chapters, a conference paper, and a technical report. I was tempted to visit Google Scholar, and I was humbled to realize that 595 people have since cited my work. And only this year, only 148 people have already done so. And I'm sure probably from South Africa, I've also checked what was making headlines here in Zimbabwe some few days ago. What was making headlines is what the government is doing, the government of Zimbabwe. It has reduced tourism levies by a whopping 50%, so as to attract investment, so as to attract tourists. So the tourism and tourism and hospitality sector in Zimbabwe is one to be supported. Now the question is, how best can we also support it in our little effort? That's where my study comes in. Coupled with the role that social networks are playing, you see that today, social networks, they are all over. And there is a greater acceptance rate of social networks, not just in Zimbabwe, but even in Africa. To the effect that even hotels, they are also on social networks. About 85% of hotels, they use social commerce for bookings, for ratings and things like that. And here in Zimbabwe, the majority, they are on social networks, the most common being Facebook. So what is social networks, social commerce to do with the hotel business? And what is the link with the government thrust to reduce tourism levy? You know, the whole idea is we can use social networks to market. But also, you realize that when people interact on social networks, usually they leave likes, they leave comments, they lose followings, they post, they repost, and things like that. Such information is what we call social proof. It validates the action of others. That's the gist of my study. So in this study, I really want to see the role of such social proof on consumer behavior. So what is social proof? One might wonder. In simple terms, we are saying, let's say, for example, we know that the majority, they say, if you want to lose weight, you have to drink salt water. In Zimbabwe, here they say you should drink warm water early in the morning. I tell you, people are busy drinking warm water. But who actually confirmed that? It was the majority. So it was the proof that we got from around that changed the behavior of most of people, and now they are now doing it. I tell you of another example. When I was young, and in my whole family, people loved football. So I was like, which EPL team will I choose? Then it did not take me time, because basically everyone around me was a Chelsea fan. So in no time, I was also a Chelsea fan. And today I'm still a Chelsea fan. Please don't remind me of what happened yesterday. Yeah, but that's the role of social proofing. It really has a probable effect on consumer behavior. So when I was now checking in the literature, I realized that social proof is just used reactively. Like, for example, by default, when people interact on social networks, then there is social proof. But there is not this active role whereby it can be done from a marketing perspective, a deliberate strategy for hotel companies as social proof marketing. The few studies that really looked into social proofing, they are done in developed countries, very few in Africa, and especially in Zimbabwe. We're still in hotel industry. We do not have such. So that's where now I then developed interest in this study to say, I really want to see the role of social proof marketing on consumer behavior in the hotel industry. And I wish to relate it to brand trust and perceived value, to see the mediating role of these two. How do they draw, how brand trust and perceived value, how do they draw interest into consumer behavior from social proof marketing? Now, coming to what I've seen as problematic for this study is that regardless of that social commerce being in existence and social proof being generated, we see that capacity utilization of hotels in Zimbabwe is dwindling. It's continually going down to about 46% by 2023, way after the COVID-19 pandemic. But we're saying these hotels in Zimbabwe, they are all on social networks. So what is the problem? The idea now is, can we tweak or profile the role of social proof marketing to see if it can close that gap such that we start to have more people visiting Zimbabwe, more domestic tourists also coming in and making bookings. So that's the gap and the problem that I intend to address. To that effect, I have these objectives and research aim. The research aim I've already discussed about it briefly, and the research objectives, there are 4, and they resonate all around my conceptual framework, which I will show you. As you can see, they're a bit voluminous, so I will try to simplify them when I discuss the conceptual framework. In terms of social proof marketing, these are the 5 elements that I will look into. User-generated social proof, which is content that is generated by other customers or other people on social networks. Expert social proof marketing, which is information that is posted by experts on social networks to validate the brand. Celebrity social proof, which is these are the endorsements that are also done by celebrities on social networks. Crowds of wisdom, now we're talking about the majority, where we are saying the majority, a brand with more likes is more love, brand with positive comments, the brand with more loves, people, they love the crowds, they love the majority. And also on social networks, there are certifications that are done. For example, here in Zimbabwe, with the Standards Association of Zimbabwe, it certifies on social networks that this one is an authentic brand. So what is the effect of such on consumer purchase behavior? In the development of these variables and the other variables of the conceptual framework, I considered various theories. So the study is well grounded in theory. The informational social influence theory and the theory of recent action, both they indicate that, yes, in uncertain situations, our behaviors, they are also influenced by others. And the theory of recent action supports that what comes first is we develop an intention, then later that intention predicts actual behavior. For those who are married in the house, I'm sure you agree with me that before you marry, those whom you eventually marry, you first develop an intention to. But now, how many kids do you have? So that intention, it can predict actual behavior. The study is also supported by these other models, 1, 2, 3, 4, which also validates and supports the development of the conceptual framework. So this is the conceptual framework of my study. With social proof marketing to the left, and the role of social proof marketing drives brand trust and perceived value, which in turn drives purchase intention, and purchase intention predicts actual purchase behavior. that I showed you earlier, they revolve around this. And as you can see, there are numbers H1, H2. Those are the hypotheses that I intend to test in this study. Now let's get to the methodology. For this study, I intend to use a top-down deductive approach whereby I started from general perspective of social commerce, then I streamlined to social media, then specifically to social proof marketing. I intend to describe the phenomena and as well as to explain the causality between social proof marketing as well as consumer purchase behavior. So the research design is a blend of the two. I will target African Sun Group of Hotels. This is a group, a chain of hotels with very big hotels here in Zimbabwe. If you have ever been to a big hotel in Zimbabwe, the probability of you using African Sun Hotel, CIS Hotel, is very high. So there, I will target customers using a questionnaire, structured questionnaire on every touch point. So I have since received preliminary approval to do that, whereby we post the questionnaire on their social media handles, on their touch points, like for example, on their websites. And during the survey, if you happen to visit one of these hotels, maybe you see a QR code for the survey at some designated hotels. Please feel free to participate. Yes. So I will target those customers. But not everyone qualifies. There is an inclusion criteria because we are looking at 423 respondents who are knowledgeable about social networks. And so these should be active to at least one social media platform. And they should have interacted with African Sun Hotels on social media or on TripAdvisor. Data will be analyzed statistically and quantitatively using structural equation modeling and descriptively using statistical package for social scientists. Now, maybe you might think African Sun has small hotels. Let me just show you. This is Victoria Falls Hotel. It's a 5-star rated hotel in Victoria Falls. This one is also a 4-star rated hotel in Victoria Falls. This one is Troutbeck, the eastern side of Zimbabwe. It's a 4-star. This one is a 3-star Holiday Inn in Zimbabwe. This one is Holiday Inn Bulawayo. The other one was Holiday Inn Mutare. This one is Crown Plaza. Beautiful and very big hotels that African Sun has. I also aim to be very ethical in this study. So my questionnaire, it will be approved by the Ethics Committee. And here in South Africa, you have the POPI Act. Here in Zimbabwe, we have a similar act, which really requires us to manage data in a certain way. So I'll be very compliant with that, the Data Protection Act. And I'll also do all statistical procedures to validate that my data in my instrument is valid and to validate that the results that I have collected can be generalized. But the question that comes is, what now? What will be the contribution of your study, Mr. Forbes? So essentially, this study will contribute to practice and theory. It will highlight, remember, we said the problem there is we have low room occupants. So this study will help to improve usage by customers of hotels through social proof marketing. And by so doing, this will help hotel companies in Zimbabwe to have new and innovative strategies to manipulate or to influence consumer behavior. Theoretically, I like we indicated that social proof marketing has not been looked into. Usually it's a reactive strategy. So theoretically, this study will consider social proof as a validated marketing, rather a marketing mix strategy. You never know, maybe it could be one of the P's. Currently we have 7 P's. Maybe it could be added as the 8th P, which is proofing as a valuable contribution of my study. And now in conclusion, I really know that my study is focusing on the hotel industry, but of interest is it targets, like indicated, the entire tourism and hospitality sector. So I really wish to see you soon, guys, maybe at some time pretty soon in Zimbabwe. So let me just show you how beautiful this country is for the next few seconds. A beautiful country Zimbabwe is. Looking forward to hosting you guys in Zimbabwe. With that, I thank you all, and I thank you very much for this special privilege for allowing me to present online. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Forbes, for that presentation. How much is President Nwagangwa paying you for this marketing stunt that you are playing? Thank you. But we are all coming to Zimbabwe. We are all going to Zimbabwe. Eh? Somehow we, Assistant Dean, make a plan. We want to go to Zimbabwe. Thank you so much for that presentation. Much appreciated. I am going to leave to the panel members to ask questions. I'm not sure if any comment, question. For Makuta. There's a question this side. Okay. Oh, okay, let me start.
Good afternoon, Mr. Makosa. Yes, yes, definitely. The study is a very great study, well-informed methodology, well articulated. The problem. We are looking forward to the results and also the contributions to the study, and also perhaps the inclusion of that the 8th P there. So what I want to say is congratulations and all the best for the finalization of your study.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any question? There's a question. Oh, there are actually three. Okay. Can we have the room? Yes. Sorry. Okay, the second one.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I mean, as you said, it's well articulated again. And thanks for the invite to Zimbabwe. My question perhaps is pushing this concept of social proofing to maybe the extreme end, potentially a negative end. Reflecting on how you introduced the theme, where you talked about, a lot of those decisions are very subjective because everyone around is a Chelsea fan. I might as well become a Chelsea fan. And while we can stare it in a positive light, it can also be a tool that can be manipulated. So how do we ensure, objectivity still, that people still retain agency to make decisions, and we are not only subjecting ourselves to, hopefully, the good intention of whoever is going to be trying to implement social proofing as a concept in raising up or drawing attention of people towards their hotels and the likes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Should I?
The bag.
Afternoon, colleagues. Mr. Makuza. Mine is just a comment to say the banking sector is now making use of the 10 Ps. They have now added
Sorry, if I may, I can hardly hear you.
Okay. Yes, the banking sector has just included the 3 additional Ps. They call them the recent Ps. You are in luck because I've forgotten the third one. There's then yours will be the 10th one. There's the performance and the political part. I just forgot the third one. So yours will be the fourth one. That was just on a later note. Look out for the recent piece that the banking sector is using now. In addition to the 7 Ps that you referred to, now yours will be the 10th one. Thanks.
Okay. We have the last question here.
Sorry, if you could add clarity to that. Was it a question or it was just a contribution, a comment?
Yes, it was a comment.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, the last question will be, I heard you talking about the 50% discount when we visit that side. So I'm interested in that 5-star hotel. I need to check if we come there collectively, so through the channel that you'll be using, are we still eligible to have passports, or we can just come without them? And the last comment will be that a nice presentation, sir, and we're looking forward to come to Zimbabwe. And next time I'm also going to do my presentation online, because we were also given minutes that your time is exhausted. You were not shown that paper. Thank you very much, sir. We will come.
If you may, please go ahead with the answers to the questions.
The last contributor, he asked about eligibility, about what? I did not get that clear. The 50%, I got it.
No, I
Yes. No,
about
the first question I got it.
Yeah. Which part?
All right. So the first question related to objectivity, whether the of social proofing would be objective or not. That's a valuable contribution. Thank you very much for raising it up, especially now as I am just embarking on this study. So what I had in mind to validate objectivity is that I would use a positivism philosophy in doing this study, whereby I will use a large sample size of 423, which would validate the results at 95% confidence level and 5% margin of error through using quantitative methods. And also I tried to use African Sun so that I eliminate bias by using different companies which have different strategies. So I think the use of African Sun Group and its hotels, because it has standardized strategies, will also enhance objectivity. But now that you have also raised it, now I also think through it to say, how best can I also improve going forward as the study is just started? I mean, just starting. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, for the other P performance in the banking, thank you very much, well noted. And the last one, I heard the last bit clearly, but the eligibility. The discount, oh yeah, please come.
I was just checking if, because we'll be doing this through you coming to Zimbabwe for that 50%, are you going to require us to bring passports, or we just come without them? Because our names will already be there, that these people are visiting this place, and I'm going to show you the activities that we have here, and in no time we'll be out of here. Thank you.
For getting us to Zimbabwe, but unfortunately, in the interest of time, if you may allow me, colleagues, right, to wrap up this, I don't want to fight with my honorable timekeeper here. Can we appreciate him for the presentation? Makuta, thank you so much, sir, for joining us, and all the best with your study.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all, guys. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye. So, colleagues, we are down to the last presenter. And really, we are doing so well because we managed to stick to the plan, and we are down to the last presenter. The last person to close off the session is N. Kisema. She is also doing of Management Sciences in Organizational Leadership, and she will be the last one. Can we just appreciate her with a round of applause, please?
Do you?
Tourist behavior on the Mwanda coastline of the Democratic Republic of Congo under the supervision of Professor Paul Acha-Ani, Dr. Rosen, and Dr. Moniane. Research objective, research problem. After reviewing the literature review, we understood that the growing tourism industry in the coastal regions is facing significant challenges, and coastal of the DRC are part of those challenges. And DRC presents an opportunity of coastal tourism because of the oceans, lakes, rivers. And we realized also many people like the beach. And as we know, at the beach, we can experience seawater, beautiful sunlight, shiny sands, and a good place for entertainment. Nevertheless, irresponsible behavior of tourists, such as pollution, littering, and throwing garbage into the oceans, cause degradation to the coastal environment. Irresponsible behavior of tourists is a barrier for sustainability for coastal tourism or coastal destinations. DRC tourism faces numerous obstacles when it comes to enhancing coastal tourism sector. Many recent studies have been focused on environmental responsible behavior of tourists, but little research have been conducted on sustainable behavioral practice at coastal destinations, specifically in DRC. Therefore, a comprehensive framework is urgently needed to solve the irresponsible behavior of tourists when they are visiting coastal destinations. As we can see on the screen, irresponsible behavior versus sustainable behavior. We can see how irresponsible behavior of tourists harm the environment of coastal destinations. And we need to move forward sustainable tourism. Research goal, objectives, and limitations. The goal of the study is to develop and validate a comprehensive framework for sustainable tourist behavior based on the extended theory of planned behavior. Objectives is to determine the relationship between for TPB, theory of planned behavior constructs such as attitude, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control, with the intention to protect Mwanda coastal destinations. The second is to determine the relationship between tourist motivations, such as push and pull, with the intention to protect Mwanda coastal destinations. The next objective is to determine the relationship between environmental awareness with the intention to protect the Mwanda coastal destinations. And next is to determine the mediating effect of intention between attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavioral control, motivation, push and pull factors, and sustainable behavior. In terms of limitation, this study will be applied in African developing countries such as DRC, specifically at coastal destinations. Literature review. Tourism presents an opportunity and challenges, as we know. The sustainability issue becomes common concern around the world and need to be addressed. The conservation of natural resources that are not renewable, such as oceans, is a priority. And the SDG 14 highlights the importance of conserving and sustainably using ocean and marine resources. We know, all of us, that coastal tourism attracts a lot of tourists, and as a consequence, mass tourism was responsible for imposing an unbearable strain on local environment. Irresponsible behavior of tourists is an important problem that facing coastal destinations around the world. Previous study investigate on traveler irresponsible behavior of tourists and highlight the importance to address the irresponsible behavior of tourists, and research employed alternative theories to conceptualize environmental responsible behavior, but the most popular theory was the theory of planned behavior. An extended TPB is crucial, plays a crucial role explaining sustainable intention behavior. Research methodology. This study will be based on positivist philosophy using quantitative method and self-designated questionnaire. The population of the study will comprise both domestic and international tourists, and the sample of 400 questionnaire will be distributed. A non-probability sampling procedure will be used for this study. Moving to data analysis, Cambridge Alpha and exploratory factor analysis will be used to determine the reliability and the validity of the item or the instrument, and descriptive statistic as well as inferential statistics. About the findings, the study is still undergoing, and after data will be collected, analyzed, then the result will be presented according to the different statistics proposed. But in terms of expectations, we can see after reviewing the literature review, TPB constructs such as attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavioral control positively influence the intention to protect coastal destinations, and also a motivation, push and pull positively influence the intention to protect Mwanda coastal destinations. At the last stage as well, environment awareness can influence the intention to protect Mwanda coastal destinations. In terms of significance of the research, knowing which factor or which construct of the TPB, which motivation factor, and whether environmental awareness could influence the intention to protect Mwanda coastal destinations is vital. And also, understanding factors that motivate tourists to contribute to sustainable behavior will help the DRC government and the private sector to promote responsible tourism in this sector. In terms of recommendations, for practitioners, we suggest that knowing the cause of irresponsible behavior, knowing the consequences of irresponsible behavior is very important, and also they need to apply key strategies for sustainable tourism behavioral practice in the destinations, and also encourage tourists to behave in sustainable manner. For future research, we recommend to investigate on constraints to participate in sustainable recreational activities at coastal destinations, and the role played by private sector in maintaining DRC coast sustainably. And the last recommendation is to investigate on strategies to maintain a sustainable tourism development in the DRC coast. I was reminding about the time, and I thank you for your attention. Yeah, maybe we can complete after questioning.
Thank you so much, Kisema. I thought you were going to say, come to DRC, come to Congo. I was waiting for that because I've been to Zimbabwe, so I wanted to go to a different part of Africa. Thank you so much for that very interesting presentation. I actually remember seeing this proposal in one of our faculty committee meeting, and I'm like, oh, now I can put the name to the face. But thank you so much. Without any waste of time, I'd like to give this opportunity to our panel and to the audience if you've got questions, comments. Dr. Larson, Prof. Dondolo.
Does the panel want to go first?
Okay, yes, let's give the panel first. We're going to start on our right.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think it's a very important topic and has so many potential benefits. I wanted it to be a question, but I'm going to phrase it as a comment and perhaps something you could consider if already it's not part of your work, which is for your literature review. Because I'm curious if there aren't any strategies or options in place to nudge tourist behavior to not litter, let's say that. And so what's currently installed there, what's currently present there, and why are those strategies not effective? Because if we're then able to analyze and say why they're not effective, then it gives credence to your approach now that you want to test or that you are evaluating, because then you can now support to say, this is where this fills this gap. This is how my approach is stronger, than what is currently existing and could maybe alleviate the problem. So that kind of analysis in your literature review, if it's not already there, would really add more benefits to your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you so much. Indeed, this is a very interesting work, particularly addressing the SDG goals. We are trying hard now to not to have the environment, and the ozone is really dying now. So this is very good. Just to also add to what my colleague said, the strategies for me now, I would have loved to see what strategies in order to create and educate, the creation of awareness of securing the environment and also trying to make sure the environment is not like that. So it's about the communication part of it, what forms, if there are any, are currently used in terms of communication. And also, this one is just a comment and really to applaud you. We know that the theory of planned behavior has long been used and overused.
Yes.
So now, what I like with your work is that you are extending it, which is a major contribution to your study now.
Yes.
To say that you are extending it, including the environmental awareness. That is very
Definitely,
key.
yes.
Don't forget in your contribution
Yes.
to list that because this is a key. Perhaps there are other variables that are there that you also are part of your study. Then that contribution, in my view, should be well articulated in a conceptual framework. You just do those models that you saw there, those diagrams, that conceptual framework. You put these extension to your the TPP, and then your reader will clearly see now where the contribution is, because we have used it for so many things. Now this is new. For me personally, I've not seen it. Maybe it is there, but it is a great contribution. And perhaps in the future you could look at other African countries, because this is not a one country problem. It is everywhere. Thank you so much. God, well done. This is a very good study.
Yes, please go ahead. You can respond.
Thank you for the floor. To respond to the first question, yeah, a comment. Yeah, I would like just to say that after reviewing the literature, I realized that the conclusion is the strategies is already exist, and in terms of strategies, we mentioned policy and regulations, because when tourists are not they are not aware about the policy when they are visiting a destination is a big problem. And after the policy and regulations, the second strategy is information, because government can not only manage the regulation or policies. After that, they have to communicate, to inform the tourists about the policy, how they can behave when they are in such environments, how they can behave, what to avoid to do not harm the environment. After the information, we have to move forward education, because education is the main key. Actually, even when I was reviewing the literature, most of most of the authors found out that education is a key for sustainable tourist behavior. After education, now, as the tourists will be educated, they will be aware about the environment. That's why we talk about environment awareness. And the next key is sustainable tourist behavior, because they have regulation and policies, they have information, they are educated, they are aware on their behavior, what can harm the environment, what to do not do to protect the environment, and then we move to the practice, sustainable tourist behavioral practice. And to respond to Professor, I really appreciate your comments. Yes, definitely. After reviewing the literature review, I realized that there were many theories used to conceptualize sustainable tourist behavior. But talking to TPB, theory of planned behavior, there were no such combinations or extension between TPB construct and travel motivation. And here, I combine two theories, the theory of TPB and travel motivation extended with environment awareness. About the conceptual framework, I have it in my literature, and as you know, they gave us 15 minutes. We cannot put a lot of things. And such, on my third slide, they were reminding me the time. I couldn't put a lot of information, And in some words, it's also a strategies to create a curiosity among the audience. So, but I have a conceptual framework. My conceptual framework is based on TPB constructs, attitude, subjective norm, and perceived behavioral control, motivation. What I have a push and pull, and the last one is environment awareness, which constitutes the independent variables. And I have intention to protect Mwanda coastal destinations, intention behavior to protect Mwanda, like such dependent variables. And at the last, I have the last component or construct, which is sustainable tourist behavior or sustainable behavioral practice. For me, sustainable tourist behavioral practice is like an outcome. It's like an outcome, yeah. After the intention, tourists, must show that good behavior when they are visiting coastal destinations. The concept framework is there, and thank you for your comments.
Perhaps also in your recommendation,
Yes.
and also because we did mention when the colleagues there indicate that, ask about strategies, we did indicate that either educate, inform, awareness, all of those. Perhaps in your recommendation there, you can recommend the channels of communication now.
Channel of communication,
It
okay.
looks like they don't hear, it's there, but it's not
Yes.
much because we saw what happened there. So perhaps you can recommend channels of communication, particularly targeting those tourists that go there, their age,
Yes.
because it depends, the channels depend on the age also.
Yes.
That's my contribution.
Thank you so much.
Kisema, I'm so jealous because, I mean, you are getting some nuggets for your work, man. And I hope you are taking notes,
Yes,
especially
yes,
the part of
definitely.
how you've extended theory of planned behavior to bring out the environmental aspect. And she mentioned that that is the key. That is the meat to everything that you're doing. It is your main contribution to the study. I hope you took note of that. But I'm so jealous. You guys are getting a lot of great comments that are just going to enhance your study, which is great. So thank you so much to our beautiful panel. Can we just appreciate them? I mean,